All right, so 4.3 is a math lab, which means looks a little different than our usual stuff, but we still have this get started, construct understanding, and a lot of it is just leading us to two patterns. So what I want to do is kind of skip a little bit of it and go to this assess your understanding part. We're just going to walk through this part of it and get what we need from it. So it wants you to complete a table for the graph of each of these functions, and there's a bunch of them, and you'll notice that they're set up a little bit differently each time. So the first thing we're going to do is just add y equals x squared and go over what these other columns mean. So I'm going to turn my calculator on. That's very important. And I hit my y equals button. And then I write in my x squared. That's all, simple concept. And the graph. So I've got a graph that looks like that. It tells me my direction of opening is up. See, it opens up, like a bowl sitting properly on the table. The vertex right here, you can see is at 0 and 0. The axis of symmetry then would be 0, right up the middle. And is it congruent to y equals x squared? Well, it is y equals x squared, so yeah. But congruent means, is it the same shape? Is it basically, could you overlay them and they would become the same thing? So yes, it is. So moving on to the next one, we're going to go to our y equals, and I'm just going to page down and leave that x squared there so I can compare to it. And then I'm going to put in my new equation, so I'm going to go bracket x minus 7, close bracket, then square it. Now I'm going to hit the graph button, and my new graph that comes up, oh, look at that. It's the same shape, so I'm going to write right away, yes, it's congruent. And it's just moved over this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. Wait a minute. There's a 7 here. Coincidence? I think not. So yeah, it still opens up. The vertex has shifted over to 7 and 0. And the axis of symmetry is now at x equals 7. So basically, we have an x minus 7 here, sending it that way 7 spots. Now we've got a new one to graph, so I'm going to go back to the y equals, and I'm not going to mess with that one, but I'm just going to change this one. Now, you could just erase it and get rid of it, but I'm going to try and write over top of it because I'm lazy like that. Okay, so I'm going to graph this one. Same equation, but it was plus 8. Wow, look. Okay, first of all, yes, it's congruent, same shape. And this one went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that way. So now it's still facing up, but now it's at -8 and 0 for its vertex. And that means that the axis of symmetry is -8 as well. So it has gone that way. Plus sign goes that way. Negative sign goes that way. These are just things that we're picking up along the way. If we remember the patterns, then we'll be able to predict what happens without actually doing any work, which is handy. So I go back to my y equals. Now I'm going to totally clear this, and I'm going to put in x squared plus 7. See how this is different because it's just x squared, and then the plus 7 is by itself. It's not inside brackets, so that's going to be slightly different. Now, when I put it in, x squared plus 7, what do you think's going to happen? Oh, I wish you guys were here. You could guess. Anyway, there's the original graph. Whoa, what the? Okay, so it's still symmetrical, or congruent, sorry. It still looks the same. So it's still congruent. Yes, it's congruent. But now it's shifted up. Do you want to guess how many spaces? Oh, I bet you all guessed 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. So it's still facing up in terms of the direction of opening. It's still a bowl upright. But the vertex now, although it's still 0 on the x-axis, has gone up to 7. The axis of symmetry is still 0 because it's still centered around that axis. Now you'll see that the next one follows a similar pattern, but first we'll just do a little margin sketch here. It went up. That arrow is supposed to be going straight up. Okay, back to here. Gonna clear this. Next one says x squared minus 8, so I'm gonna go x squared minus 8. Put in my graph. There's my original function. Whoa, who knew? Now, it looks kind of funky, but if I drop this one down, it would look exactly the same. So these are congruent. Yes, congruent. But the axis of symmetry is actually still the same, x equals 0. But now it's dropped down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. It's still facing up, so we still have to follow this kind of stuff, but now it's -8 because it's gone down, which means that this one went down. All right, now we've got a different pattern again, because what we see happening here is we're not adding or subtracting anything. Now we're multiplying. So the next one says 7x squared. So I'm going to go 7x squared and graph it. There's my original graph. Whoa. Is that congruent? No. No, it's not congruent. So no, it's not. Still facing up though. Vertex point is at 0 and 0. Axis of symmetry is at 0. What happened here is it looks like the whole thing's just been squished in, or maybe if you thought about grabbing it from the top and pulling upward. Anyway, the shape has been changed. So we're going to move on to the next one where it's y equals -7x squared. Anybody? Oh man, I wish you were here. I want you guys to guess this stuff. I'm sure you'd get it. -7x squared. See if it lets me do that. There's the original. Oh, it's upside down. Okay, so this is opening down. My vertex is still the same. My axis of symmetry is still the same. It's certainly not congruent to y equals x squared, but it is congruent to 7x squared. It's the same graph, it's just flipped upside down. So that flipped it upside down. So what they're basically trying to get you to understand here is when you see a pattern like this, where it's 7 minus a number, then squared, you're going to have a shift to the right. If it's x plus a number, then squared, outside the brackets, then it's a shift to the left. If you've got the x squared by itself, and then a number, that's an upward shift if it's positive, and a downward shift if it's negative. And then if you have a number attached to the x that you're multiplying, that's when it's not going to be congruent anymore. It's going to actually be making the shape change.